Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. It is Thursday night, which is a day late, but it's Wednesday night, it's supposed to be. And it's time for some reckless speculation. First of all, I'm going to let y'all know that the Michigan stuff's got to go. So it's ridiculous speculation, and it is, as we always start, 3 of the forecast minute members. And I would just like to start this show by going, what happened to the Michigan Wolverines?
Hey, I hope the Michigan guys are watching. I'm the only one that went 2-0 on the semifinals. So, yeah, what I expected, Georgia's going to do their thing and Alabama does their thing.
They are on the air currently on RiverCity-Media. So if you're over there watching them and switching over here, okay. Let's make welcome Robbie Davis. Got a lot to get through, Robbie. But it's been a good week of bowls and a month of bowls in college football, and man, we're in the grind for the NFL season now.
Oh yeah, I mean, I enjoyed bowl season. I didn't do too well on the pick'em part of it. I thought there were a lot of bowls. I mean, it was just nice for the holidays to have entertainment, have games to watch, and if gambling is your thing, to gamble on them a little bit. It's definitely my thing, and so I did such. Won some, lost some, and then, but yeah, no, and but overall, I mean, I think it was a pretty good bowl season. I don't like though when they have the semifinals before the New Year's games. It just discredits them some, and it's just like they're on TV, but it's hard to get excited about them.
At some point, Kansas State and LSU played like a week after the semifinals, and it was just pointless.
I had no idea that game was happening. Zero until somebody texted me like, "Who are you taking?" I was like, I honestly thought they were talking about basketball. I had no idea the game was going to go on.
Yeah, I had no clue either. It was that's just ridiculous how far away that was from everything else. So nobody's paying attention at that point.
Did it get postponed, or was that how it was actually scheduled?
That was how it was scheduled.
Yeah.
Let's welcome in from Moeller in Middle Tennessee State, just across the East Tennessee Central State line. Do you got much snow, B-Chain?
Yeah, we got about 6-7 inches. It's crazy. It started about 5 a.m. this morning and it stopped about 3. So a lot of snow. Had a little fun out in the snow with my daughter. She was out of school, obviously. So it's good times.
My front yard looks like the Mojave Desert. You got any, Robbie, on the other side of town?
No, we don't have any. We got some rain, maybe a little cold. I mean, it may freeze overnight, but no snow at all.
All right. Well, we had hoped to have Raj here to discuss the baseball topic. So we'll go ahead. We're going to move to the second topic. Jim Harbaugh, the Bears, the Raiders. What's going on there? Here's my take, and we'll go from there. Jim Harbaugh could leave Michigan on a high note right now. Made the playoffs, won the Big Ten, beat Ohio State. Unless he wins a national championship, his stock will never get higher at Michigan. So, he's made some public statements. I think some of his people have kind of made some statements about the Raiders. Been some rumors about the Bears. Does he get out on top? Robbie Davis, we'll start there.
So there's the obvious answer to the question of where does it all? I mean, what's the motive? Follow the money. So he could be playing this for a substantial raise at Michigan. He just saw what other people just got. Michigan State coach, Kelly at Notre Dame, Riley at USC. He could say, hey, I'm going to the pros unless you pay me very well. But he doesn't come off of me as that kind of guy. I tend to agree with you that I think he just hit his ceiling at Michigan. I think Ohio State's a much better program overall and long term. And I think he's going to struggle to win one of these every 4 or 5 years. And so if he wants to go, and I think he does want to go because I don't think it's very fun coaching college football because now you have recruiting high school, you have the transfer portal, you have to recruit your own team every week. Like you have to keep everyone together. And he just seems more like a football coach more than like a personality person. And you look at University of San Diego left at the top, Stanford left at the top, San Francisco left at the top. But he never won a championship at any of those places. He just left on a high note. So, yes, I do see him leaving. And if he's going to leave, because if he comes back and loses to Ohio State next year, which he probably will, then it's this climb again. And so I would be more shocked. Let's say if the Bears open and the Raiders going to be open, Jacksonville's going to be open. Who knows what the New York teams are open. Man, Chicago with Justin Fields seems like he could do a lot what he did with Colin Kaepernick and the 49ers. If Chicago's open, I'd be more surprised if Harbaugh's at Michigan than I would be if he's at the Bears.
All right, the one question I have, if it's about money, though, doesn't the financial sense make more sense at Vegas? All the tax breaks, Mark Davis will overpay, or do you think it's Chicago? Because I guess I walked into this conversation assuming Vegas would be the number one destination.
You say Vegas has to overpay. They may be on the hook for $100 million to Gruden. I know NFL. I know it's just money. But I don't care who you are. $100 million is a lot of money. I don't know if in the contrary to that, the Bears owners everyone has money. Like it's not like Ohio State versus Cincinnati. All the NFL teams have money. They all do.
All right, Brandon,
Yeah.
as an Ohio State guy, the first question I'd ask you, are you sad to see him go, or are you excited at the prospect of him going?
I mean, I hate everything about them and him, so I don't care one way or another. But as far as coaching wise, I think he, like Robbie said, his personality is more of a football coach than, kind of a recruiter, just from what you see in the media. This is his ceiling. I don't see him, making that climb again. Like Robbie said, look at his previous records. If he gets a setback by losing to Ohio State, not winning the Big Ten championship next year, I mean, he starts back at square one all over again. I mean, Michigan has a very short-term memory, and they're going to forget everything that he did this season if he loses next year. So that's a tough place to be in. I mean, he's lost, for 9 years straight to them. I think if he leaves and he goes to the NFL, he's got to be the top candidate, right? I don't see anyone else out there that would surpass him. So and there's quite a few good jobs open. Bears, I'm leaning there because they drafted him in '87, like number 26 overall. He's got good ties there. It's a great program, like Robbie said. There's no shortage of funds there. Vegas, you can see that he was a QB coach there for a while, so he's got ties there. So I think that's why everyone's speculating those two places. Plus, they're interim coach at Vegas and Nagy. There's no way in hell he's going to be the coach of the Bears next year.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, and we talk about the ceiling of Harbaugh in Michigan. It's one thing to catch, like the talent that Michigan brings in. It's one thing to catch an Ohio State on a cold, snowy day, and they can slow them down. And yeah, they'll win one every 8-9 years. you go to a dome or warm weather and you pair against SEC school, they don't have that talent. Ohio State can get it. Michigan doesn't. And that's the difference between in-state recruiting. That's the difference between a brand and a tradition. As much as we like Michigan, or not like Michigan, as much as we respect Michigan's brand, they're like Tennessee. They haven't been good in a really, really long time. And so they're just a program, and it's a rivalry.
Well, and he's been a part of that for the
Yeah.
last 10 years. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's time for a change, and I can see him riding out on a high note saying, hey,
Absolutely.
I did well there, and I checked all the boxes, and now.
And he was a really, really successful NFL coach. This isn't like going into something he doesn't know.
No, he's never had a losing record in the NFL. He's been over 500 every year. So I think he's a better NFL coach than he is a college coach. Maybe it's the personality or sitting in a room with a kid. I don't know. I just know you look at the guy and, I wouldn't go there with him, but
well, the same reason like Mike Tomlin laughed at like, you think I'm gonna go coach college? Like, no, like I think Harbaugh is the same way. Like, I came to my own water, I wanted to win. I won the Big Ten championship. I got you guys back to someone can take over now.
Relevance,
y'all lead the rest of the way if you can. But I'm gone. It just doesn't seem as good of a life as an NFL coach.
Yeah, I mean, I think he stuck with it, and I commend him for that. He stuck with it to try and not go out with that losing. And they haven't really been terrible in the Big Ten or anything, and they've been good. It's just they couldn't beat Ohio State. And if you're a Michigan coach, that's your number one job.
Yeah, and they have a losing record against Michigan State, but Ohio State's the standard.
Right. So, I don't. If he doesn't take it now, I don't see him making it back.
Odds, Robbie Davis that he leaves better than 50-50.
Yeah, I think it's assuming he's offered. If he's offered the Bears, I think 70-30, Raiders 65-35. And one of these dysfunctional franchises, maybe 50-50. But I think he's done. I think he's said, I won the Big Ten. I'm out.
I just think he fits well in Chicago. I mean,
I do too.
I really do. Like you said, with Fields, I mean, he's been a quarterback coach his whole life. He knows quarterbacks. He coached, Luck at Stanford. It's a perfect scenario to come in. The only downside, they don't have a first-round draft pick because they traded away for Fields. But again, they're a younger team. I think they've got a lot to build on there.
So, here's what I guess because the news about the Raiders are relatively new today, but I just read an article from The Athletic that just basically said, he gets back to the West Coast. Mark Davis is willing to unload a lot of money on him. You could be a hero in Vegas. But again, I hadn't thought about him playing for the Bears. I do not think he stays. Is there a possibility that he could go to another college football team?
No chance.
None?
No. I don't think so at all.
Well, one, congratulations to The Athletic on their getting purchased by the New York Times for, what was it, $550 million? Congrats to those guys.
2 years ago, The Athletic was a startup too.
Yeah. It was huge. No, I mean, so I don't like if I'm if I'm Vegas, I just fired a coach and maybe having to pay him $100 million. The interim is taking me to the brink of the playoffs. Why am I not signing that guy to be the head coach? I don't get why Oakland would be open, honestly.
Well, especially if they win. Look at like if they make it into the playoffs, a guy with all the adversity they had faced this year, and they've pieced it together and make it into the playoffs with an interim coach. I mean, you can get that guy.
Receiver.
You can get that guy for $3-4 million a year and be done.
Yeah,
with it.
I agree, Brandon. I don't think Oakland's going to be open. I don't.
All right, guys. Well, Rods didn't join us in the first 20 minutes, so we're going to go ahead, even though he's kind of our baseball expert. Let's go back and talk about the baseball lockout and what I see as can be a tragedy to the Major League Baseball. I'm going to give you some things that I believe, and then we'll go through it. I believe we will miss games. I don't believe we'll miss regular season games, but I definitely think spring training will be abbreviated and start very late. I believe we're going to have a round, once this gets settled, a round of free agent signings that's going to involve of one, Freddie Freeman leaving the Braves. Baseball is set up to take a lot of black eyes, in my opinion. A work stoppage at any point, while not in the regular season, I see as a major public black eye for baseball. Robbie, you're the attorney here. You got to negotiate longer than 7 minutes to get a settlement to start with.
Well, you got to come to the table in good faith. And neither side of those did that. From what I'm looking at, doing a little research before this topic was thrown out there, looks like the arbitration system. So if you disagree on a contract, you're going to go to for those who don't know, arbitration is essentially a mini trial with loose evidence rules, and there's an arbitrator, and they make a decision, and that's binding. And so I guess the players want to get that out of there and kind of get to more of kind of what would be a jury kind of hearing about what normal people would think. I believe that's what it is. I could be wrong. And the other issue is revenue sharing. And so they want to get more to the NBA model where the players, I think, they get 50, maybe 51% of the revenue. The NBA is really high on revenue sharing. And so those are the two big issues. Obviously, the owners don't want to give any more revenue sharing. And then so it's going to be, if they're not coming to the negotiation table in good faith now, it's not a good sign. And then and we're going to get into this a little bit later, is the United States Football League, the USFL, they're launching in the spring. This is a horrible time for baseball to not be playing in the spring. If you let the American public go from football to March Madness, back to football, spring football, and then a new pro league, if you get them in that habit, it's going to be tough to come back. I don't know.
Not only do we have the United States Football League this year, as I understand, the XFL is coming back next year with Dwayne Johnson and his wife, ex-wife, Danny Garcia. So there's many, many options coming to the spring. Please go ahead, Robbie.
Oh, I'll pass it to Brandon.
Brandon?
Yeah, so with this whole lockout thing, I mean, you've got the owners are all playing essentially big boy money ball. I mean, they're trying to expand the playoffs, cut down the games, which they'll get more revenue share there. And I think the biggest complaint from the players union is holding back the minors and not letting them come up and get paid as early as possible, which saves, some cash there. So it's just a whole debacle. I mean, only baseball could screw up baseball, right?
Well, and I will say this, some friends of mine, if y'all remember back in 2020, early, maybe August, September, maybe July, June, whatever. The only game in town was NASCAR. They were the only sport playing. And it was just, well, there's nothing else on, so we'll just watch that. The USFL has a great chance to get that. And if baseball loses that window, like for a time when so many sports are overlapping, we've been in a year and a half of constant sports. If you let your fan base go, there's so much more to latch on to.
Well, and timing is everything.
Yeah.
So, for example, I mean, in a small sample size, you look at, like you said, the Rose Bowl, for instance, viewership versus the college playoff games. The Rose Bowl was like 16.6 versus 16.5, 16.3.
Yeah.
And that wasn't because it was that a bigger game. It was the timing of it. I mean, so, I mean, that's a huge issue they got to deal with too. And if they hold off till, March and I think they could potentially push the season back a week or two as well.
Well, and then
like a 3-week spring training and then push the season back. I mean, Manford, he doesn't care about the players or what's going on. So, I don't know. Raj, he coming in?
Roger, are you able to hear us?
I can hear you, but I'm pretty glad you guys can't see me because I feel and look like you know what. But I can't see myself, which is usually a good thing also. But I was listening.
Got the camera pushed.
I
At the bottom it says Cam and Mike.
Yeah, I realize that. Thank you.
Okay.
I do have a different setup today, though.
And I also know how to use Zoom.
Well done. Truth be told, I don't feel awesome, and this rarely happens. And I'm highly medicated, so c'est la vie. But I cannot see myself. But I heard the conversation, and it was well researched and well done. I think Chain's absolutely right. Nobody needs to see me, by the way. I could be Mysterio. Baseball has changed, and it's a pitcher's speed and a defensive game. And no longer, I know the headlines reveal that Max Scherzer somehow, even though he had a dead arm when the Dodgers needed him the most, gets $43 million a year. But most of baseball is young players that are unlikely to reach their veteran minimum, if you will, or whatnot. And yeah, the game has changed extensively, and the owners refuse to recognize as much. And believe it or not, baseball is making money, and it's just out of volume in 162 games, but it's certainly not TV revenue. But one of the reasons why is because they don't play, or rather pay the average player very much. Shane's absolutely right. Now I'm going to leave and try to figure out this phone thing and hope my NyQuil doesn't kick in any further. But no,
So
excellent conversation. Please.
Well, Rogers.
I didn't. One thing. Wait. I didn't realize the symptom of COVID was not being able to work electronics.
Hey, I actually tested just now because I felt like, you know what, and I rarely get sick, but I was negative, fortunately, and I'm drinking water. This is it's a new one for me as well. But Randall,
COVID
please.
COVID does make you dumb, though. So
everything
maybe
makes me dumb. Once you hit 45, everything makes you dumb.
The one thing that Major League Baseball had done to itself over the last 2 to 3 years is it had circumvented its own rules. Players like Juan Soto, Ozzie Albies, Ronald Acuna had avoided arbitration completely by signing these mega contracts that really wasn't mega contracts. Acuna signed, I believe it was a 10-year, $120 million contract to avoid the whole process. Albies signed a $70 million contract. Basically, Soto did the same. They are one contract from full free agency that totally makes the arbitration system inept. Do you think that these guys I think Ronald Acuna, Juan Soto left millions of dollars on the table by doing this. If you let Acuna get to the open market, his contract actually delays him getting to the open market by 3 years.
Absolutely.
$12 million is $12 million over 3 years is $36 million.
That's
If he
perfectly
got to the
said.
open market, Ronald Acuna would bring $40 million in a year.
And that's perfectly said, and that's part of the issue. It's not just minor league players that are getting underpaid. I hate to use this word because it's ugly, but it's borderline extortion of the Latin American, athlete that goes to an academy at 15, gets paid nothing, and Major League Baseball knows that just the opportunity is something that anybody would dream of, let alone somebody, from a disenfranchised, disadvantaged country. And they absolutely take full-blown advantage. And to the players' union credit, they're not making that a focus, an issue. Perhaps that's just my California liberal self, but that's really what I believe. And it upsets me, right? Like, I know we all like to think that owners are big and bad, but in this case, they really are. What percentage of the league now is mixed race? Let me put it that way, and not individually, but I'm saying as a populace. It's a different game now, and the CBA and the players' union, they just want that to be recognized.
Robbie, to that question, does the fact that the majority of Major League Baseball is this Latin influx that's underpaid, and also an Asian influx, the Asian contract works different. A lot of these guys that come over, even Ichiro, they come over. It's not Ichiro that makes money off his first contract. It is his parent club back in Japan that sells his right to Major League Baseball that makes the majority of his money. Is it hypocritical that Major League Baseball can do this?
Well, and I rarely take the billionaire side. But this is one where I don't say I take their side, but I'm not sure why they're negotiating. I would do exactly what the NFL does and say, hey, we own the teams. We have the TV contract. You don't want to play? We'll get more people in that want to play. I mean, the Major League Baseball, NBA, they have guaranteed contracts. The NFL will rip up a contract in front of your face and say, see you later. That's nothing. And so for them to be like, oh, we'll lock them out. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but I know what it does hurt for the owners is the minor league system and this, but it's like, hey, if you want to play baseball, this is your stage. It's like Broadway. This is your stage, man. If you want to get up here and play, then this is how you have to do it. And it sucks. But just from a negotiation table, yeah, if I'm the owners, I'm not backing down. This is a toy for me.
Shane, let me ask you two questions. One, does it get disheartening for you to hear of minor league players that are playing for less than $3,000 or $4,000 a month? And also, at the same time, Robbie brought up NBA. One of my stigmatisms with the NBA is a very average player can make $20 million a year.
Yeah.
Those two facts bother me on both sides of it.
The NBA players control the NBA. It's not the other way around. That's the biggest difference here. Here, there's a stronghold with the owners. They have the TV contracts, like Robbie said. So it's apples to oranges at this point. You can't really compare the two. So yeah, the players, you can be, a seventh or eighth man and make $20 million a year, no problem. Yeah, I mean, should they be getting paid more 100%. But at the same time, it's kind of a catch-22. It's a kid with an opportunity to make something and have a chance at the big leagues. So he'll take whatever he can get. I mean, he was already playing for free to get there, so you guarantee he'd play for free again. So you got to look at the psychology of the whole thing as well with these kids. And I think, that's getting a little bit manipulated by the owners for sure. I think, they're definitely wanting to expand playoffs because they get bigger TV contracts. No one's watching a game at 1:00 on a Tuesday. They're going to watch a playoff game instead. So cutting those out again. I mean, it's hard to argue with that side of it. So go ahead, Rob.
Well, I was going to say the big picture of it is baseball makes their money off the gate, where the NBA and the NFL is making their money off of TV. You don't have to be a marketing genius to know which way this is going. If you're making money off of people coming to an event versus people watching it on television, baseball's going in the wrong direction. And so they may lock them out to try to get more of the gate revenue because that's all they're going to have. And yeah, like Brandon said, if you're playing playoff games on Tuesday at 1:00 Eastern, which is 10 a.m. on the West Coast, what are you doing? Literally, what are you doing?
Yeah, we've had that conversation the whole time with baseball and their scheduling. Like, it's been terrible.
So the Atlanta Braves win the World Series with a mid-level payroll, the worst TV contract in Major League Baseball. For those that don't know the history of the Braves contract, Ted Turner on the way out the door signed a 20-year contract with Comcast Sports South to broadcast the Braves games. That's the reason the Braves disappeared from TBS and now is on Comcast Sports South with less revenue than the Kansas City Royals,
which we don't even get in Chattanooga on YouTube TV. It's ridiculous.
Yes. So, with all that being said, if baseball goes on strike on a level of 1 to 10, how much does it affect Robbie Davis's life?
How does it affect my life? I'm not saying it's the nail in the coffin, but it's pretty bad. I'd say for a care meter for baseball, if they come back, if I'm at a 4 now, I'm at a 1.5 or a 2.
Interesting. Brandon, I'll ask you the same question.
Depends on the length for me. Like, are you talking couple months, full season, half season?
We affect the opening of baseball season, so it is delayed by at least weeks.
Doesn't bother me. I mean, I know opening day is a big deal, and a lot of people take off work and sit at home and, watch baseball all week and weekend. I've never been that guy. I've got a lot of friends that are, but so usually, couple weeks into it, I don't really even start paying attention just because they play so many games.
Yeah. And I agree with that. If it's weeks, I don't care. If it gets down to summer and there's nothing going on, then I'll start to get annoyed and be like, okay.
Yeah, if it's like June.
Yeah, I'm like, we got to find something to watch.
It's like something's going on.
If it's just, because for me, baseball starts the championship game of the NCAA tournament, so I'm much more concerned about that than baseball, or it starts around there. So I'm with you, Brandon. I'm not an opening day guy. Like, whatever.
Yeah, but to your point though, if it's June before they kick off, and now you got the USFL and these other things that you're starting to latch onto, especially the novelty of it being new.
You're gonna the NBA finals in June, and then you got then it starts the NFL cranking up college football.
you're going to be like, baseball, still on lockdown. Who cares? Like,
Yeah.
it's just going to.
Go ahead, Shane.
No, I'm saying it's just going to fade away. It's already been kind of fading away to some people and their market. In my opinion, I've always been a baseball fan and kind of been back and forth as far as watching as much as usual. But yeah, it's just bad timing right now.
I think a lot of diehard baseball fans would be in my shoes. I am super excited for baseball over the first 30 days. Kind of go into cruise mode until the All-Star break. Jump back in at the All-Star break. But truly, it is the first month of the season and the last month of the season that I watch baseball for. So if it makes it there, if you start affecting one thing I do give baseball credit for, they learned a lesson from '94. I don't think there's any way possible that they'll affect the World Series. But besides all the sports that you just named, to me, the one sport that stands to get the biggest boom off of baseball not playing is NASCAR, which has been very overlooked the last few years. You would get a period of time after March Madness where NASCAR might be one of the primary sports going. Robbie, could NASCAR come to life again?
Well, first of all, it starts the week after the Super Bowl for the Daytona 500. And it gets kind of overshadowed by March Madness. Yeah, well, I mean, I've been an adapter this last decade, I guess it's been. I think if you start watching it and gambling on it, you'll really get an appreciation for it. But yeah, no, I think it has a lot to gain. I think it's a great, and it's one of those, they've also pivoted from a gate sport to a television sport. It's much, you look in the stands, there's not many people in the stands anymore, but the ratings are still pretty consistent. Not where they want to be. They obviously have controversy. They have regional issues. They have racial issues. They have all kind of demographic issues. But with Michael Jordan owning a team, Bubba Wallace driving for him, maybe they can get a little bit more diversity into the thing. And it's all. I wish I would have grown up doing go-karts and racing. I think it's fascinating now. And so, yeah, they have a chance. It can't hurt them to not have baseball playing, especially in the dog days of summer when there's nothing to watch. And we're just trying to do something to entertain ourselves and to gamble on.
Well,
I don't have a gambling problem, by the way. Just throws out there every sentence.
I'll throw that out there too. You should put it up, Robbie Davis. I do not have a gambling problem. Rod, while you were gone, I asked these guys a question, and I feel like you and I are kind of the baseball guys here.
And you are on mute.
And
God,
what does
I thought I could handle
major
NyQuil.
delay of several weeks to the beginning of the season do for you with Major League Baseball?
You know, first of all, I hate to blow up any of my cohorts except for their host, who's by far the best part of this podcast. But it's ironic that we just came from baseball and talking about how owners are greedy, and Rob brings up Michael Jordan and minority owners in racing and how that's supposed to have an impact. Sort of feels like we're switching sides. Back to baseball. You know, I've always contended that each division, especially when the divisions were realigned, should have one less series with their own division. 162 is too many games. You take out one division, most divisions are 4 teams times 3. That's at least 12 games less. That's one home series versus away. That's 24 games less. I think that's fair. Point being, you know, baseball fans are baseball fans. I don't think it's going to matter that much either way, but I do believe we need a full season at this point. But Rob left before I got to blow him up. Suddenly,
He's our resident
owner-friendly.
flip-flopper.
Oh. Oh yeah, he went to law school in San Diego, even though he's from
Yeah, I'm
Tennessee.
teasing.
No, you're not.
No, weren't they
No,
talking
go ahead,
about cutting it? Weren't they talking about cutting with the playoff expansion, cutting to like 154 games a year or something?
It was 154 games for a long period of time. It was 141 or 2 games for a long period.
41, I think.
141 for a long period of time. Matter of fact, Babe Ruth's 60 home run season was in a 20 game shorter season than Roger Maris, if you've ever watched the movie 61.
And I know you were 21 at the time, Randall, but there were about 15 less teams then. But no, man, I agree entirely. It's a product of greed. Again, baseball makes money based upon what we discussed earlier, because they, on the average, on the whole, don't pay their players very much.
Yeah, but let me ask you guys a question here. So if there is a lockout and it does get pushed back, isn't the start of the season still the start of the season? Aren't you still going to be just as excited for those 30 plus days that you watch it versus, I get it's a different month, but aren't you still going to be just as excited to see baseball back?
Do you feel the same when football doesn't start on September 1st, but starts on December 1st? That's how I feel about baseball.
Oh, no. I think it's a whole different animal. I think baseball.
Of course one would, but that's how I feel about baseball.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Feel the same.
This is an opinion show, so you have yours, we have ours.
It's about reckless speculation, which is what you are.
But no, if you say, no, baseball's going to start July 1 versus April 1, well, oh, no, I'm into focusing on football, and then the season may as well not just pass it to the next year. Because there's no sense in focusing on it, because you're going to get, 30 games in until it's football season? No.
That's based upon the presumption that what if football was in the summer? Based upon like Randall's question about the USFL, which is a brilliant question.
If the NFL says we're starting on April 1, then April 1's the start of football season. We're all in on that. Like, that's just
it's seasonal, but to the true fan, I mean, you got to look at seasonal. But if football, if I know it's coming back, like day 1, I'm still going to be just as excited. Yeah, I'm going to be disappointed, but again, you're dealing with all kinds of stuff happening around. I mean, look what COVID did to everything. That's why NASCAR jumped into more of a TV sport.
It's like the Masters being played in November. We were still all happy about the Masters being played in November.
Exactly. You're wrong because you guys weren't born, but Randall posed a brilliant question about the USFL. That was a greedy entrepreneurial attempt to fill the summer void, and they attempted to take on baseball. And there were brilliant players there, including Tennessee's greatest player and perhaps the greatest player in NFL history, Reggie White. I actually have been to USFL games. Steve Young and the LA Express, Herschel Walker, who's the only never mind.
No, the USFL was very successful until one idiot sued the NFL.
It wasn't that successful, and you weren't even born, dude.
It was.
You weren't even born. It was 83 to 86.
I wasn't born when Rome was an empire, but I know they were successful until they weren't. You don't have to be there.
But do you believe personal experience or text? That's a difference.
I'm going to.
Well, that's a good question. You know as well as I do, and eyewitness is the worst of evidence.
I know I'm right.
I'm gonna throw one thought to you, and then we're gonna move on.
Okay.
Football. This is how dangerously close football is to filling my calendar. You think now? You guys aren't in the high school realm where I live and broadcast. My high school football season starts around August the 1st. The NFL Super Bowl is in February. I almost become I don't want to watch sports for a little while. Once I finish the drag of football season. So that time from February to the start of baseball has been almost a month and a half refresher for me. If you give me football, and I tried it last year, I was falling in love with the XFL. I might have been the only guy, but I was falling in love with XFL. If you give me football at the right time, I skip basketball, I skip baseball. My soul sportsmanship lives on football and college basketball, and we're dangerously close to that in this society.
Respectfully, I think that's a regional issue. If that were the case, then other leagues would have made it. NFL is not, minor league baseball has a different scale, so to speak. But the XFL football is one sport where you've got one level that you can play at, and that's it. And that's it. And you can't fool people, and that's what it seems like the XFL and the USFL does. I would argue that it is seasonal. That for me, it doesn't feel right to watch football in the summer or whatnot. But yeah, I am a purist, and I enjoy the 4 seasons and the 4 sports. So I understand what you're saying, but I do think that is a regionally centric concern where football is paramount, because I don't think maybe Rob's the only person in Tennessee that likes college basketball as much or more than college football.
More, yes, Rob, maybe it.
Exactly.
Robbie, is there a way that we could get you to stay involved in football year round?
Well, so and I'm going to piggyback. I'm going to share some of Raj's frustration that he did in the last segment. So on Twitter last night, during the UT Ole Miss game, I wish I could remember his name to give the jackass some credit. He was like, "Oh, if Tennessee loses this game, we should fire Rick Barnes." And instantly, everyone was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, gee, like, and my point of this being is, these are a bunch of seasonal fans who are just moving to sports, and it's like you have no idea what you're talking about, and you're a fake Tennessee fan, and all you're doing is making all Tennessee fans look bad. And so, like, I guess it's just this irritation of just jumping sports to sport, and like, yes, there's like I do like the purity of college basketball, and I don't necessarily like. I fear football will take over everything. I'm not saying I want it to, because I do. I've been watching the Vols play from one. We beat 8th ranked or 6th ranked Arizona a week ago, and now they want to fire Rick Barnes. Like, it's just idiotic statements. And
Beyond
so I
idiotic.
do like the purity of the seasons. And while I want to keep them, but what I say is, if I shut down of baseball, I do fear that it will break up that kind of sectional things. And so, yeah, no, I want college basketball to be its own. I wish they would push it back to a little bit right after Christmas, or January to maybe late April, that window. But yeah, no, I don't want a football takeover. I don't. I love football. It's my favorite overall sport, but college basketball is number one sport, subsection of the sport. And so, no, I want it to keep its place, and I love it. And I don't want idiots jumping in for no reason.
You're right, Rob, and that's brilliantly put. But there is a presumption of your analogy based upon being like the same team or school, or you know what I mean, like Tennessee football versus basketball. But I hate to call you out. I think it's the NyQuil, but the point remains. You're absolutely right. It doesn't matter what the sport may be, the same standard is likely held for the fan based upon the highest standard. And of course, fan is short for fanatic, and that's the bottom line. But that's why we drink. Randall doesn't like that. I thought that was
I
brilliant.
don't want to drop the
well
USFL conversation. We might as well lead into this.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And then we'll come back to Tennessee football. We talked all about it. I have one question about the United States Football League I want to ask each one of you. and then you can give me anything you want on it. We'll start with you, Shane. What would the U.S. Football League have to do successfully to hold your attention?
Well, after the initial novelty wears off of just wanting to see what it's about, I mean, they'd have to put out a good product, like somewhat comparable to the NFL or college. And I think that takes, years and years to do, to build a fan base like that. And I don't see that coming to fruition. And before this whole NLI thing, I thought that, possibly they got a niche here where they could be somewhat of a farm league, for transitional guys coming in, trying to build, get better, and then move into the NFL. But I mean, with college now paying their players, moving, I mean, that kind of takes that off the table for me. So I think NFL has got such a stronghold on football and that aspect. So I don't know. We'll see.
Robbie Davis.
So, I hope it succeeds. My biggest beef with this whole thing is the setup. So they've got teams in New Jersey, Michigan. I assume that's Detroit. I don't know. I didn't look that into it. Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay, New Orleans, Houston, then Birmingham. The only one of those teams that I think will draw fans is Birmingham. So I get the idea of putting it in major markets, but those major markets have huge competition. I like to see something like Boise. I like Birmingham, maybe Memphis, maybe Oklahoma City, San Antonio, places that don't have major market football teams. Because I'm not, as a consumer, if I'm let's say an Eagles fan, I'm not dropping my $3,000 for Eagles tickets and then turning around and paying whatever it is, maybe $700 or whatever it is for tickets for this game, or Pittsburgh, Tampa, NOLA, Houston, New Jersey. I don't think the ingredient is going into major markets for this. I think you go into I can't remember the one league that kind of started and crumbled, but go into places that are cities that
XFL
have stadiums.
Vince McMahon.
Chattanooga has Finley Stadium, which isn't you don't have to rent the stadium from a university, but there's a 17,000 foot seat stadium. Maybe you can get
the revenue's not there, Rob. You know that.
Look at Dollar General's business model and hit those markets.
Yeah. Well, but you have to grab a fan, grab some excitement, and then go for it.
So, Robbie, and I'll come back to you, Roger. I want to ask you the same question. To all of you, one of the most successful leagues that no one ever talks about is the G League. Could you take the NFL, and I think they tried it with the World Football League at one point. Could you do it that way in conjunction with the NFL?
No.
Roger said no, so let's go there first.
Well, one reason why is there's a physical correlation. This is a rabbit hole, but there's a reason why the NFL doesn't allow people until they're 2 years removed from their high school senior year. Multiple other reasons why. Basketball can be played anywhere at any time. You don't even need a hoop. You don't even need an actual ball. It doesn't demand the same physicality. I digress. But I think that's the major reason as to why. And again, the NFL, there's a reason why there's only 17 games versus 162 or 82. It's a physically imposing, demanding, debilitating, eliminating sport. Nobody else gets CTE and shoots themselves in the heart to preserve their brain in other sports. It's unlike anything else, and you can't duplicate that. The USFL had a shot, and the reason why it was 1983, and nobody else had seen that challenge. Yes, the AFL and the NFL merger was different, but at that point, the NFL didn't know Jim Kelly, Reggie White, Steve Young, gosh, who else? I can't even think. We're going to be these great players. People like Donald Trump, who own the Generals, overpaid players to see if they could make money during the summer and challenge baseball, and they lost. Now, granted, that was the 80s, and the New York teams were very relevant then, especially the 86 Mets. I don't know if that had something to do with it or not, but football is football for a reason. And I hate to say this, but it's very meathead, but OTSS, man, only the strong survive. And that's with football, and that's with business, and that's with the business of sports, etc.
So I was alive and
Well
was a
said.
fan of the USFL, but I'm going to tell you something that they did that was a horrible mistake, in my opinion. They paid a few players a lot of money, and then the rest of the product was probably substandard.
Isn't that what baseball does?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's the same process.
Yeah.
I'm going to be interested in the United States Football League. Everything Dwayne Johnson touches turns to gold, so we'll see. We're definitely going to have a couple of years of spring football. Let's see if anybody can make it stick. So that was a good conversation. Let's move on. I want to talk about something, and I'm going to put a little different spin on it. I have been a season ticket holder at the University of Tennessee since the early 90s. And I went through a period of very good football and a very, very, very criticized coach at that time. Then I went through a period of a turnover of coach. We went through Lane Kiffin State of the Year, Derek Dooley, Butch Jones. I've been thinking about Josh Heupel and the Vols' future. I do not know that I know what makes a good football coach at the college level. But I can tell you, for the future of the Tennessee Vol program and Coach Heupel, maybe I'm drinking a Kool-Aid, but something about this feels different than any point in Tennessee football history. Robbie, we'll start with you. Raj, I want your input. I want everybody's input. Why does Josh Heupel feel different than even Philip Fulmer did?
So I will admit that I was wrong. I didn't like the hire, but I am wrong. He took over a team built for defense under Jeremy Pruitt, which left on horrible terms, and the NCAA is looking in. People are transferring. He came in with almost nothing. The most points scored in Tennessee history in a season, the most touchdowns scored in Tennessee history. But most importantly for Tennessee sports and Tennessee athletics, has ignited a fan base. They sold out the Music City Bowl. It was 80% orange.
Don't they do that every time they go to the Music City Bowl, which is the only bowl they go to?
No, I've been there where it has not been sold out. I've been there. I've been there many a times. And
I know. That proves my point.
You got a top 15 recruiting class.
But you lost to a team that you were better than.
All right, anyway.
It's still worth it.
And so
it don't matter.
You got
this matter in my head.
My point is the same hyperbole is expressed every time you guys have a winning game.
I'll let you talk here in a second. It's an exhibition game.
I'm going to stop.
And top 15 recruiting class with top 3 in the conference. So
he's getting mad.
You got your QB coming back. You got a lot of key players. The SEC's not in reach maybe next year, but in the next couple of years, the SEC is in reach. I am very happy with what I've seen thus far. He made a few blunders in the bowl game, going for it, got cocky. But that's okay. Let's get cocky. Again, it's an exhibition game. It doesn't matter. Bowl games don't matter unless you're in the playoffs. I don't care if you who win, lose, doesn't matter. And so no, I'm very happy. I think I was wrong, and he didn't even entertain Oklahoma, at least on the outside. So I think he's here to stay, and I'm happy with this.
Raj, to your point, it didn't matter. I'm telling you, this fan base is so desperate for something to feel good about. Josh Heupel feels completely different. And it doesn't feel like Butch Jones. It doesn't feel like Derek Lewis. It doesn't even feel like Philip Fulmer at his peak.
For once, I'll agree with you, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead.
The reason why is I've heard the same hyperbole for decades. Or this and that, where it went but brick by brick, blah, blah, blah. Heupel is the only person, again, I've said this many times, the only thing I question about Heupel is how he named Joe Milton the starter over Hendon Hooker, who's an NFL prospect, who's a ridiculously brilliant decision maker. And I know people say, oh, you missed a few passes Milton did, and it would have been a difference. No. I think maybe because Hooker didn't have as much time in the program.
Yeah.
When you look at the top 10 transfers, exactly. When you look at the top 10 transfers last year, most services said like 80% were from Tennessee. And they had like 50 players sometimes. And Heupel not only won, but he made kids improve. And that's all that matters. He's a real coach. Was he going to go to Oklahoma? I kind of joked around about it. Stoops fired him because Stoops is an idiot. And Oklahoma fans are dumb. And now that Stoops won a bowl game, they're going to brag about it. But I'm so annoyed and sick of hyperbole from, no offense, small town fans, even from rational people like the two of you. But for once, it's justified. This guy can flat out coach. And that was a good team. And I was shocked they lost to Purdue because they were a better team. It wasn't about a decision here or there. That's football. I really don't know how they lost that game, to be very honest with you. But, I mean, this is the first time in my life where I would kind of agree with you guys where optimism is actually justifiable.
Brendan, you live in the state. You deal with a lot of Tennessee fans. What's the feel out there to you like?
No, I'm going to have to agree with Raj on this one. So I've heard for years, this is it. We've got a great coach. It's going to happen. We're rebuilding. It's going to happen, and then something happens.
I'm one Tennessee fan that will say, I've only said that about one other coach, and that was Lane Kiffin. So go ahead.
Oh, God.
I still think.
Credibility.
Yeah.
So,
credibility.
Sorry.
No. That being said, I mean, Raj is right. Yeah, he did name Milton the starter, but he's also smart enough coach to understand his mistake and made a very big change, mid-season. And he's one of those coaches that is just a football guy. He's gonna make adjustments. You can see that. He made, one of the biggest adjustments in the quarterback there. So that speaks volumes to me as far as where he's going to be in the future. And I think the Vols fans actually do have a good thing going here. And, I don't know, until Saban's gone or maybe even Smart, the SEC being yours, but competitive.
It was a very Tennessee fan thing to say, but
being competitive, yes, 100%. You're relevant again. You're going to be competitive.
Hell yeah.
And it's all about a game here or there, and maybe you do make it to the SEC championship.
Well, and in theory, it's not about Kirby being there anymore. We're about to break into pause, and it should be Tennessee, Alabama, Auburn, and Vandy. And then once Saban's gone, then it's just beating those three clowns.
Yeah, once Saban's gone,
I said it, Alabama.
It's all over, bro.
Again.
You're a bunch of clowns.
Again. Hey, just
Well,
be happy with
the
relevance
Saban
back in the SEC
Exactly.
for Tennessee.
Be happy for relevance. You guys
All right,
are
guys, we're running
shocking me.
late on time. I want to get to the NFL scenarios real fast.
Yes, let's do that.
The NFL is in week 17, and there's not a whole lot to play for this final week of the season.
Hey, what about fantasy football? How you guys doing? Because it's week 17.
The elephant in the room.
Sorry, only been in league 5 years. Finals 4 of the 5.
You're in danger of getting muted. Let's stay on subject.
No, man, Lenny talking trash is worse than me. I shouldn't talk trash. I'm sorry, but go ahead. I'm
Well,
very
you still got to win it.
So
which I haven't done.
the AFC
Aside from
Titans, in the AFC,
I've got one.
the Titans have clinched the playoff berth.
Randall
Clinched
has
the
years
division.
ago.
They have
Randall has
79%.
0.
30 years ago.
He's
They
going to
have
mute all of us.
79% opportunity to clinch the first seed. One remaining game, the Houston Texans. Are they any way the Titans lose to the Texans?
Didn't they already lose to them?
Yeah, they did. But
They
it's hard to
did.
beat a team twice. No, there's a lot of crazy scenarios out there. So, Titans lose, Chiefs win, Chiefs jump number 1. Bengals could jump to number 1 with a loss from the Titans and the Chiefs. The Pats could take over the number 1 spot with losses by the Titans, Chiefs, and Bills, which they're kind of sneaking up. Belichick's doing his thing at this point. And then, Chargers lose, they're out. Raiders, if they lose, they can still get in with a loss from the Colts and Steelers. Or if the Steelers lose and the Colts and Chargers tie, they both get
but
in.
let's talk about the percentages of some of this stuff. For the Patriots, ESPN says the Patriots' odd of being the first seed is 0.001.
And they were the 1 seed like 2 weeks ago.
The Bengals are less than 4%. The Chiefs, 17%. The Titans, 79%.
Well, they're a
All
10.5-point
these
favorite.
scenarios exist,
How?
but it goes away if the Titans beat the.
Have you seen the NFL this year? How crazy it is! Like,
How often do the
do not-
1 seeds actually make it to the Super Bowl? I feel like it's like maybe 20%.
I think they win. Yeah, it's like number 1
Make it
seeds.
often,
Like,
dude. Road teams generally, in my opinion, I'll check the Google monster, but the point is it the presumption that if the Titans get the number 1 seed that they're going to be the favorite is entirely false. Now, this being said, I watched Dante at Texas. He's a big back. He does really well. Does he have the same vision or size as Henry? No. But it all speaks to the Titans' offensive line. But I think the point remains that, and you guys will disagree with me, freaking Tannehill's not going to win you a championship. And the defense is not as good as it was. Even if Henry comes back, you can't just step back into the role, no matter who you are. I know he's superhuman. If they win the Super Bowl this year, I'll be beyond shocked. Beyond. That's my point. 1 seed doesn't matter. Home field doesn't matter.
Hold on.
It does in the Titans situation because it gives an extra week of rest for Henry to come back with a bye week, and then everything comes through Nashville.
But Nashville's Vegas minus, meaning that everybody loves to go to Nashville, so they're going to have just as many fans there for whomever they play, presumably, versus it's not like it's a huge home field advantage. That's what happens.
Playoff games with
a rad city.
Different.
Right. Nashville's a rad city. I don't want to admit that, but that's going to happen.
No, the bye week absolutely matters because it's one less game you have to win. I mean,
that's
that's
how many wild cards have won the Super Bowl in the last?
That's
years?
Great. That's great, Raj.
You got to catch fire.
Hold on. If you're drinking and driving, you have to run through 8 stop signs. It's better if you have to only run through 2. So the less you have to go through, the better odds you have. It's just math.
That's the worst analogy I've ever heard.
Oh, well, okay. Well, then maybe you should go run through 8 stop signs. No, but I'm serious. The less
I've only run through 7.
The less chances you have to lose, the better your odds are of winning.
In theory.
Not in theory, in math. Like
It's NFL, dude. Any given
History.
Sunday.
It isn't math.
How did the Titans lose to the
hey,
Jets?
it's absolutely math.
It's any
maybe-
given Sunday. The Raiders last week beat the Colts at Indy.
So you just
All
made
that
my
matters
point.
is who
Wait,
you're
wait,
ready.
hold on.
No, I
You-
didn't.
you-
All
it's
that
any given
matters is
Sunday,
if
so
you're
the less
ready to
any
go.
given Sundays you have, the better you are.
If you're
Yes,
number
If
one
I have to
seed, in
play
theory,
twice, you have to play
you'll be
6
overinflated.
then you're going to
Hold
lose
on
on
just
the
a
any
second.
Sundays more than I'm going to lose on
You'll
the
be
two.
overinflated. That's the
Before
NFL.
we-
How did the Titans lose?
How much
to the
NyQuil
Jets.
have you drank tonight?
A lot.
Yeah.
But the point being is that the NFL is any given Sunday, and
I'll tell you what.
just because you don't- just
let
'cause you
your
show
team
up,
play
how did the
more
Raiders
games,
beat
I'll
the
have my
Colts?
team play less games, and we'll see who loses more.
I got a question. Everybody, hold up.
that was funny.
I mean, it's
Before we do
math.
the AFC,
It does
before we
come.
do the AFC, the most dangerous team that no one is talking about comes from the winner of Cincinnati, Indianapolis. True or false?
False.
Not true.
True.
I say true.
Rob,
True.
you said false.
Who's the?
I'm sticking
You're still
with
on the
my-
Chargers. Oh,
Yep.
get off the Chargers.
I'm
Get
sticking
off
with
the
my
Chargers
preseason
already.
pick.
Come on.
Hey, they'll beat the
Chargers.
Raiders, and they're going to be a wild card and win it all. And again, disprove
You
Rob's
California
theory.
boys. I mean, what is wrong with
I'm a
y'all?
fucking
Come on
Raider
now.
fan, dude. Excuse me. I'm a Raider fan.
All
I
right,
just-
over to the NFC.
I
Before
think
we
the
lose
Chargers
rock
are a
and
better
roll, let's get
team.
out of here.
I knew I could pull something out of one of you.
Mother.
Over in the NFC, the Packers have clinched. The Rams, as long as they beat the 49ers, hold second. Good
Yep.
football
But-
game, though.
They could slide all the way to 5, though.
They could. Tampa plays the Panthers. Dallas at the Eagles. Arizona at the Seahawks. San Francisco again at the Rams. That's the real big. And then the Eagles at the Cowboys. So over in the NFC, you've got 7 teams, and 4 of those teams are playing this week. Brandon, what's the
Another crazy scenario for the NFC is Arizona. So they can jump from 5 to number 2 with the Rams losing and Tampa Bay losing, which, changes the whole outlook of the NFC. Rams could clinch it for sure. But yeah, they could potentially slide all the way to 5 with a loss, depending on everyone else. So it's the NFL, and I am not, just because someone's a double-digit favorite, even in this week, I'm not so sold on certain teams. So
I will be putting somebody from the NFC playoff picture on an upset alert here shortly. So the whole world's already kind of pointed the NFC towards this Bucks-Packers matchup. What are the odds we get a Bucks-Packer matchup, Riley?
I don't like it. So I think my most dangerous team in the NFC is the Eagles. I think they can force teams almost back to, and it's almost deja vu to when Vic came in and beat Brett Favre and Lambeau for their first home loss. Like, I see this Packers team or this Eagles team as being just really hard to defend, and they will pound you. They focus, or they force their game of football on you. As great as Aaron Rodgers is, they're the most dangerous team to me right now. I think the Bucks, you never count them out because of Brady, but they seem a bit wounded. And New Orleans, and we said this last year, New Orleans set the blueprint, but I just don't think they have it this year. So if I'm not taking the favorite, I'm taking the Eagles.
Thanks for stealing my upset alert pick.
You guys are both ridiculously wrong, though.
Because that's who I'm going to put on
Because
upset alert.
if you look at the Eagles' win streak, it was against the Broncos, which I think it was at home. Maybe it was at Denver. They beat They beat the Jets at New York, Washington, the Giants, Washington again, and I think the Saints with Trevor Siemian. They're well coached and they're a decent team, but I mean, they don't have a true running game, right? They have a couple change of pace backs and Kenneth Gainwell. They have a quarterback who can move the football, but he's basically Marcus Mariota. Like, he's not going to make 3rd and 18 and a 25-yard out. I love Jalen Hurts. But I just – and the defense is nearly the same. Fletcher Cox is like 10 years older, et cetera. I don't see Philly doing anything. I'm shocked they actually made the playoffs, but look at their wins.
So I'm going to give you the Dallas Cowboys wins. Ready?
Yep.
Washington football team, the New York Giants, the Washington football team, the New Orleans Saints, the Atlanta Falcons, the Minnesota Vikings. That's since the start of November. That group of wins ain't no better than the Eagles group of wins.
They played Tampa Bay good, though.
Well, here's my response.
Arizona's bombs.
This is the NFL. The Raiders have lost to the Giants, to the Bears. They've beaten the Steelers at Pittsburgh, the Ravens, the Dolphins, all playoff considerations. They lost to the Chargers. They beat Denver twice. They beat Philly. There's another loss. Oh, they got crushed by Cincinnati, which was just a better team. Remember, they beat Dallas on Thanksgiving Day, and they lost to the Washington football team. The point being is like the NFL is a roll of dice.
The better.
It's about matchups, and you never know. And Philly can't match up with certain teams.
The less games you play, the less you have to lose.
I wish the Raiders only played 40 games.
Team we were talking about.
No, did you not see the omen on the Eagles? His own fans tried to kill Hurts. You know, they jumped out of the stands on him. So I don't see the Eagles in it.
That one dude said that Nelson
Aguilar is going to be like, "I'll give you the bye week." Oh no! I want to play more teams.
The Chargers will beat the Raiders. I'll put a lot on that.
We'll make our losses up in volume.
Yeah.
Thank God. It'll wrap us up for the night.
We played 65 games.
65 games. We only lost 40 of them. We're
Wait, that's it? The NyQuil's not even really kicking in yet.
So, we have 10 more minutes where we're going to get who we're going to put on upset alert and our better nuts for the week. We've already established who I'm going to put on upset alert. I like the Eagles at home with their backs against the wall a little bit versus the Dallas Cowboys coming into the very hostile environment in a 50-50 NFL and also a division where I don't believe anybody's very good. So give me the Eagles on an upset alert. Money line. Beat the Dallas Cowboys.
Sincere question, what does Dallas have to play for? Because I'm not sure. Because they already won the division, right? Is it seeding?
Nothing.
Yeah, it's seeding.
Okay.
Yeah. And the Eagles are playing for their playoff life. Is it correct, Brandon?
No, they're already in, I think.
The Eagles are in.
That's the one thing I actually know.
Eagles are in. Yeah, Eagles are in. You're right.
I think the NFC's set. Isn't the NFC set?
No.
New Orleans still could get in somehow.
New Orleans could get in for sure. I don't see that happening though, but
no, I assumed if New Orleans won and the Eagles lost, that's how New Orleans gets in. But we'll review that.
No idea.
Raj, who do you have on upset alert?
You know what's funny is the Chargers are 3-point favorites at the Raiders for a playoff berth. I am not putting the Chargers on upset alert. I think LA is just a better team. when it comes to upset alert, I think, a team I'm looking at, even though Arizona has a lot to play for, is I've seen that as a touchdown favorite, and Rashad Penny is just crushing it right now. And Arizona, to me, hasn't demonstrated an ability to stop the run. So I think they have to be very wary of Seattle, especially with a savvy coach who's probably on his way out and a savvy quarterback who may or may not be on his way out. If anything, they'd love to punk a team like that. So I'm putting Arizona on 7.5, 6.5 upset alert.
And that was my second choice. Robbie?
Are we doing upset your alert and bet your nuts, or just
No,
upset?
Just upset alert.
If the Bills are 16-point favorites, I'll put them on that too. That's what I just saw. Sorry.
Upset alert. I'm
Way to
going
do your
Georgia Bulldogs.
Upset would be winning.
Alabama's going to beat Georgia again in the college.
Wait, what's the spread?
3.5.
Georgia's favored?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out! Oh, get out of here!
Yeah.
Well,
So I'll take Alabama money line, and I'll be happy with it.
I'm gonna lay the farm, dude. Jeez.
Brandon Chain.
I'm going to disagree with Raj. I'm putting the Chargers on upset alert. I know Robbie's riding them in.
I hope you're right.
I think the Raiders have everything to play for. The adversity they played, they're going to have a lot of passion in this game. It's at home. They know they got to win to get in. I think Waller's going to be back out there. He's healthy. I think they pull it off. What are they? 3-point dogs?
Chargers are -3.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so the Raiders are 3-point
Raiders
dogs
are
at
3-point
home,
dogs
which
at home.
Oh,
I love it.
You're picking the right. That's so stupid.
I just said upset alert. Chargers on upset alert.
Can we talk about fantasy football though? Before you,
No, you're going to get.
Yes,
how'd
we're
you
going to
guys
have
do?
to.
I'm
We're
gonna tell you
taking
this.
that. We're taking that to the Supreme Court.
I'm telling you this about
Brandon.
fantasy football. I made so many terrible decisions this year, but
My
really,
bet
it's
your nuts.
about it. It's about
You're
in
bet your nuts,
season.
Brandon.
I mean, do we need to say what Criminal did that night? And he has easily the best team, and he deserves to win.
Debo
You want to talk
Samuel,
about
Joe
talk about-
Mixon.
luck? Well,
He deserves
that's
to
the NFL.
win.
Oh, he's
Anyway.
gonna lose though. You know.
My bet your nuts is Titans -10.5. They will go down to Houston and get it done.
All right, Rod.
Shit, I'll take Houston on that. But I believe I said it. Damn, dude. I have a plethora of choices. One is I don't think the Titans are going to win by 10.5 or 10. I don't think the Jets are going to lose by 16 to Buffalo. But as far as I know, Buffalo, what do they have to play for? Randall, could you tell me?
I don't know. Change the expert on what they had to pay for. I don't think nothing.
Buffalo.
I was going to say
seeding-
Seattle,
it's just-
but right now I'll
it's
take
seeding.
the Jets.
It's
Jets,
nothing but seeding, yeah.
Jets at 16 is my bet your nuts.
All right, Robbie Davis. What's your bet your nuts?
One day,
I like
when we
that,
get,
Raj.
one
actually.
day when we get fancy, we can have people do our own research. And it'll pop up on our screen. We'll know what we're talking about.
I just ordered. Hey, news! I just ordered a module for our set where I can play live video in our screen.
When's our set opening?
What's a module? If you know that and I don't, then I really have to.
The module we're on, StreamYard.
Oh,
This
Module.
We ordered the expanded package so we can do video.
all right.
So if you
this
wanted
is-
to bring up a play and insert it into the score or into the video feed, you could.
Oh, why didn't you say so?
So
I like
this is reckless gambling and for reckless speculation.
Irrelevant.
Irrelevant speculation.
Erroneous.
Reckless speculation. So Cincinnati's without Joe Burrow. Cleveland's without Baker Mayfield.
And Joe
minus-
Mixon. Mixon's
Yeah,
not playing
Mixon.
Cincinnati.
But Cleveland's -6 for I have no reason why. I don't know who's playing quarterback for them. I don't know who's playing quarterback for Cincinnati. But I will take Cincinnati +6. And I will bet them now, and I will go big. I'm saying laying 300 on them.
Just
All
call
right.
it units. 3 units.
I bet you're nuts.
Is it inappropriate?
I don't know.
A game
3.
night.
I'll bet 3 cases of Mountain Dew. I see Skip Bayless does that.
I will take Georgia to hammer Alabama.
What do you mean?
Georgia minus, and I like Georgia to win the game. The Bulldogs finally get it done and win a national championship.
How much can I bet you personally based
No, you
upon
can't.
that?
No, you can't.
I will
about-
second that bet. I'll be the insurance on that if Rod can't cover.
Yeah,
I will
I
be the
can't
secondary
cover.
insurance on that.
$11.37 that's in my checking account.
Why do you think
All right.
Georgia's going to win?
How about Robbie's 1,000 to your
Because
20 and my
I
50
hate
to your
Georgia
20?
so bad that it's just destined for them to win this year.
Oh,
I-
so logic. I like it.
Aren't you a Falcons
am-
fan? Like, I don't get this about the South.
I am completely trying to jinx them, Robbie.
You're a Falcons fan, which is the epicenter of Georgia, correct?
No, it's not.
Atlanta?
Georgia Tech's in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I know tons of Georgia Tech fans.
I know at least
Atlantics.
3.
I've met
Okay.
one in my entire life.
Well,
Hey, the guy I
yeah,
work with
he did my
played football
taxes.
at Georgia Tech. There you go.
I've met way more Falcons fans than Georgia Tech. Yeah.
All right, guys. Final
Hey,
words.
should we-
We're going to
hey,
start
can
with
we-
Raj because it's going to take him a while.
I'm struggling.
Drink some more NyQuil.
Look how fat my face is, too. I had a shot of Toradol and Depomedrol yesterday on my shoulder, which was
So what's
awesome.
the
You
final word
only
there,
have to play
Phil Boyd?
16 playoff games.
Dude, my life ended in the first round years ago.
I'm trying to get your final words there. Phil.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. My shoulder hurts. My final words?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. NyQuil kicked in. Those are my final words.
Okay.
The NyQuil kicked in.
All right, Brandon James. Final words.
Final words. Titans will be the number 1 seed. AFC comes through Nashville. Gonna happen.
Robbie Davis, your team plays less games than anybody. What's your final word?
Well, one, I think we should do, if possible, at least a 20-minute pre-national championship game special. Just kind of give our predictions for the show. Yeah,
Sorry.
Raj thinks that's not enough games to lose. So
I
he's
mean-
like, if there's only one game, no,
Yeah.
give me 15.
He's like, I
It's
need
like-
volume.
figure out-
I need volume.
It's
I
like
can
the
hide my winnings in the
SEC.
math.
I mean, the SEC is the best conference. It feels like it's freaking October. Who cares? I'm not going to watch
You
it.
know, my final thoughts are good start to 2022, and hopefully
Horrible
Baker
show.
gets it figured out. And then, yeah, Ohio State screwed me tonight in basketball, but
Just like the Vols screw me every time you tell me to bet them.
Yeah. Don't bet USC tonight, by the way. 5.5 at Cal. Cal's been playing really well, even though
That
they
was
suck.
almost my upset alert, but I still think they beat Cal.
No, I mean, I
college
think
basketball's become unbettable.
they haven't
I've
played in
never
like 3
ever
months.
bet
Yeah,
for it.
you never know. It's a coin.
Just wait till March Madness. That's when you bet all basketball.
And if we're lucky, we may do a road show from Vegas.
That would be perfect.
The
Hey,
Vegas Waffle House or
Randall.
I mean, we have to
Yes.
visit Randall, don't we?
Flip side is Benny is
I won't be there.
fighting. Benny's fighting, I believe, February 26th. And my boy was like, he rarely drinks anymore because he's like a doctor. And he's like, if I have an extra ticket, will you come out to Vegas to see Benny fight? I'm like,
Absolutely. I will go see Benny fight.
Exactly. I don't even like MMA that much, but I'm like, cool.
That would be awesome. All right.
Point is that MMA is better than the USFL.
That is true.
No, I got nothing.
They don't have enough games to lose. They don't have enough fights to lose.
God bless.
What they need
Yes.
more fights that can
We'll see you next
lose
week.
less. That's the problem with MMA.
I need to take NyQuil more often. This is way better than alcohol.